to Bobby. So Dr. Bobby Hulme-Lippert is a pastor. He is a speaker and a writer. And since 2019, he has been the senior pastor and head of staff at First Presbyterian Church in Georgetown. He's served at multiple congregations, including in Richmond, Virginia, and Atlanta, Georgia. And he's also served as a chaplain in the U.S. Army Reserves. He's a current member of the T-Works Toastmasters Club in Cedar Park, and he writes a weekly newsletter on Substack, which is awesome. You should check it out. It's called Small Stories About Big Things. Bobby and his wife have 2 young boys, and they live in Georgetown. So, welcome to the stage.
I would.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is called The Grounded Life. A few years ago, a rabbi and I were set to co-officiate a very big, a very formal wedding, a little north of Boston. About an hour before the wedding, I opened my suitcase and saw that I had my suit jacket, I had my shirt, my tie. I had failed to pack suit pants. All I had by way of pants were the light wash jeans I was currently wearing at that moment. And like I said, very formal. I learned there was a Kohl's, maybe 8 miles from the wedding venue, and that was probably my best bet. So I race out to my rental car and I hop onto one of those beautiful winding New England highways with the tall trees and the foliage covering them. And I just zip right through that. And while I'm zipping down one of those highways, I'm on the phone with Kohl's. I say, I need some help. Can you all find a suit for me? I give my measurements over the phone. Can you not only find it, can you put it in the dressing room so that when I arrive, I can change immediately? She's a little skeptical, but she agrees. Okay. I park in the lot. I race in straight to the dressing room. Suit is there. Whirlwind. I've got it on, got my clothes that I was wearing under my arm. I race to the register. Of course, there's a line, but they can fortunately see the beads of sweat literally forming and the generally panicked demeanor. So they kindly offer, would you like to check out first? I said, yes, thank you. You have no idea. I'm supposed to co-officiate a wedding about 8 miles from here at the top of the hour. And all of them together quietly look at their watches in stunned disbelief. I get to the front of the register. I still have on those security tags. I have to hop up onto the register, pull the tag out, the tail out. They take the sensor off. I cut down, I put the leg up, the hamstring stretch kind of thing, so they get the one at the bottom of the leg. Pay, race to the car, back onto, those beautiful winding New England highways with the gorgeous zipping along. I arrive 5 minutes before the wedding ceremony begins. New suit, notes in hand, sweat pouring down my brow. It is amazing what we can pull off when we have to. But at what cost? I looked the part. I was exasperated on the inside. I said all the right words at that ceremony. I felt none of them. I was there, but I was not there. Can you imagine showing up to something as sacred as a wedding, but because the race just to get there was so all-consuming, you missed the whole thing? I think a lot of us go whatever speed is required on the highway of life to pull off the many demands that we have. For many of us, our lives are one thing to the next. It's multitasking as much as possible. It is to-do lists that seem to grow even as we're checking things off. And so we speed up again and again. And perhaps to all outward appearances, at least, we look the part, we say the right words, we've got it together. But what about, at least for some of us, the sweat forming along the brow? What about it, at least for some of us, the tiredness of our bodies? What about it, at least for some of us, the growing disconnect to anything in here? Can you imagine showing up to something as sacred as life? But the race had become so all-consuming that more and more You were missing it. I arrived to that wedding 5 minutes before it began, and I saw the wedding party in a huddle off to the side. The rabbi had drawn them together in a circle for a time of prayer. I don't remember what he prayed. What I remember was his presence. He had such a peace. If I had a single word to describe his demeanor in that moment, and really the whole night, it would be this: grounded. He was grounded in who he was and what he brought to the moment, grounded honestly in the gift of the moment itself, despite the fact that he had no idea where the coefficient was and how this thing was about to unfold. Grounded. A word that does not suggest much movement at all, but does suggest strength, depth, and vitality. A lot like those tall, foliage-filled trees, deeply rooted on either side and canvassing over that New England highway. The truth is, I think on all sides of us, along the highway of life, there are these quiet, persistent invitations whispering to us about a grounded way of life. A grounded way that doesn't grow overnight, but in the end is so full, so abundant, so nourishing, so beautiful. And these quiet, persistent whisperings, they come to us in any and all the ways that would have us slow just a little to appreciate their full gift. The grateful prayer of a rabbi, the beauty of fresh foliage, an embrace, a thoughtful conversation, cooking a meal and sharing it, laughter of a child. The things of joy and beauty, the things even of grief and surprise. These are the trees that line the highway of life, ever inviting us into a grounded way of life. Grounded in the gift of the moment, grounded in who we are, grounded in our awareness of the gifts we have to offer in this world. Is it possible? We've been speeding by any trees these recent days. And what if we received their invitation? And can you imagine, perhaps a few years down the road, when people look at our lives, rather than staring in stunned disbelief at all we were trying to pull off in a small window allotted to us, they smile instead in genuine gratitude, because our grounded lives have become for them an invitation to another way on the road of life. Thank you.